Morning, guys. So the question is, does a failure make you a failure? Or is failure part of the growth process? So I had the half Ironman this weekend and I epically failed. Had some help with that, but that's kind of, I'll lay that all out. But I trained for 2 months hard. And the reason I was being public about what I was doing is my goal was to motivate guys to get off the couch and start exercising again, because you cannot be a high valued man if you look like you're about to deliver a baby. You're not a high valued man if you're not taking care of yourself. You're just doing yourself and your loved ones a disservice. So that was part of the goal. And I've got guys who said, man, I've started doing this. I've been working out again. I've been hitting the gym hard. So from that standpoint, it was a success. I got pulled off the swim course, swim Nazi, as I call her, right around between coming up on the third of a mile point. She said, "Oh, you're a distressed swimmer." She called me out. First of all, I was ahead of 4 people in my heat, 3 or 4, because I had looked back, at one point, and I was back. I was changing to backstroke, so when I did that, I could see people behind me. So I was ahead of people, but somehow I was distressed. Now, I'm 50 plus triathlons in. Never had this happen. In the first Ironman I did, I was one of the last 10 swimmers out of the water. My one mistake in retrospect was wearing the wetsuit, because it does help with buoyancy. The reality is I didn't train with the wetsuit because I didn't have a chance to get to a lake. And they waved me over and like, what? You go, "You're a distressed swimmer. You need to get out." I said, "I'm not distressed. I'm inefficient." Exact quote. She goes, "Well, you're doing this, this, and this." And I said, "That's not against the rules." And then, because I had read the rules from the race site, and she quoted USAT, which is the triathlon organization. "Well, you're doing this, this, and this, which classifies you as a distressed swimmer. You're required to get out." Now, to say all of this caught me off guard was an understatement. And the fact that there was a trooper in the boat who said, "You need to get in the boat, you need to listen to her," didn't help, because my dad was a cop. I tend to be pro police. After the fact, I realized I should have just told them to piss off and kept swimming. What are they going to do once I swim into the water? The worst they could do is arrest me when I get on shore, and I don't know what they could arrest me for. But again, that wasn't what I was thinking when I'm treading water and this woman is telling me I have to get out. But it was interesting because once the trooper said, "You've got to listen to her," I kind of felt a little trapped in that. So I got out. I argued with her some more before I finally got on the boat, because she was wrong. I was not distressed. I was inefficient. But I also felt something I hadn't felt in ages. I felt shame, because I had people there supporting me. I had been building up to this. I'd been working my ass off. I felt the kind of shame I hadn't felt since my first wife told me she wanted a divorce. And I did feel like a failure. Fucking epic failure. And I just really had a hard time with that. And it's one of the things I talk about with the guys I coach. The difference is where they go into a funk for days or a week. Coaches, we only go into a funk for minutes or an hour. And I texted Matt to say, "Hey, if you've already headed this way, turn around. Race is done." And I needed a little bit of space and time. I didn't get angry. Anger doesn't control me anymore. I control it. But shame was the emotion I was feeling as I look back, and really kind of pissed me off. And everyone was great, because they were like, and Charlie told me, he goes, "Yeah, I didn't feel like you were pissed off, or we kind of giving you some space, and I didn't lash out, I didn't, But let me tell you, the hour and 40-minute car ride home to Matt's was pretty quiet with the girlfriend. Did not have a lot to talk about, was still processing it. And Charlie pointed out, but yeah, you didn't lash out. You didn't misdirect stuff to her. So, Melanie's got to feel safe with. It's the thing. This is why women don't feel safe, because they feel our anger. Well, I didn't have anger. I dealt with it. And when I got back to Matt's, I went for a run because, one, I needed to get my workout in. Two, I needed to just do something. And then somebody made a joke and I laughed. And so I probably was in a shame spiral, feeling like shit for about 2 hours. And, and then a little later on that day, Melanie goes, do you know they pulled 2 or 3 others out of the water before you? Now, I was in the second wave. I've never seen 3 people pulled out of an entire race, and this woman pulled 2 or 3 out in the first 2 waves. And I was a little pissed, because if I was panicked or struggling, it'd be one thing. But when I go, oh no, I'm just inefficient. And then I looked up on the rules, she lied. None of what she said was true. So I got a little frustrated with that. Again, didn't lose my shit. And then Andy Horstman, he crushed his half Ironman. Under 5 hours, the man's a stud. But for a while there, I felt like a failure. Now, the reality is, well, I'm not in the best shape in my life. I'm close. Since April, I've lost 22 pounds. I feel great. I do have a torn meniscus in my knee. We'll probably have to take care of it before next year when I do races. But for the time being, I'm going to just deal with it. And so once we were done with lunch, Andy had reached out. I had to, it would have been really easy to duck, but then I'm not practicing what I preach. So we ended up talking. And I'm not going out on this note. I'm going to crush a half Ironman next year. I will post the results once it's done. But the reality is, it was good for me in many ways. It was a good reminder what that kind of shame feels like, because it had been a while since I'd gone there. It's been a long time. I haven't felt like that since the divorce. That's 16, 17 years ago. It sucked. And the reality is, I've been biking 40 plus miles. I'm crushing workouts. I'm on pace to have 25 workouts this month. I had 27 last month. Now, I'm going to probably dial that back just a touch. I was cramming a lot in, but I'm already working on 2 smaller races to lead up to the big race and trying to figure out where we're going to do the big race next year. So instead of doing this and getting motivated and really cramming in for 2 months, I'm working on a year-long training plan. So it's going to make me become better. And the reality is, none of us are great at stuff. And I will take a race that doesn't allow wetsuits, because I think that actually hindered me. I was actually having amazing swims leading up to the race, best I've had in my life. So that was what really, that I couldn't get into a rhythm with the swim, was really frustrating. But when you feel this shame, if your marriage ends, if a relationship ends, you're not a failure. You might have actually kept that relationship alive longer than it was supposed to be. And you can let it define you and become a failure, or you can say, screw that, I'm not a failure, and I'm not going to let this define me. And you can work at it, get with a coach, get with a program, and improve yourself. And the reality is, I'm not a failure. I got in great shape. I lost 22 pounds. My main goal was to inspire other men to get their ass off the couch and get to working out and take charge of their health. And a bunch of guys I know have done that. So for that reason, it's not a failure. I did not get the result I wanted. I will get that result next year. I will, I will never let anyone pull me out of the water like that again. I will tell them to piss off, and I will just go back to swimming. Now, side note. Once I realized she lied, I got a little frustrated. I reached out to the race director and had a phone call with him yesterday. And I told him what happened, and here's what he said. And I quote, "Yeah, we've had a problem with that with her." I'm like, what? she's not a volunteer. She works for Park and Rec. They had a fatality in another triathlon, not theirs, but it was a heart attack. So it wasn't a drowning. And I guess she pulls out an inordinate amount of people every year. But the reality is he doesn't have any control over that because it's through the Parks and Rec and it's not their own volunteers. And he said, because I voiced my complaint and said, I want a refund. You shouldn't be, pulling people, and he's like, not a problem. I will process your refund. And then he told me about the problems they've had with her. And then he said, she's retiring after this year. He was actually, this has been an ongoing problem they've been having, which made me feel, Charlie said, it may feel good, but it's not satisfying. It's not satisfying. I wanted to feel like crap after 6+ hours out on that course because it was a hot one, and I hadn't been running because of my knee. So that run was going to be just god awful, but I was going to just keep on going until I was done. So if your relationship is failing, there's no shame in that. You're not a failure. You actually, if you learn and grow from it and work on yourself and become a version 2.0 man, you're a success because you're now set up for whatever is the rest of your years. Part of what I'm doing now was to get to a certain level of health and fitness for my final 30 years. I'm 56. I say everyone lived 85. I gave myself an extra year due to family history. I like the nice round 30. I got a lot of plans. And so, guys, get off the couch. If you're not exercising regularly, you need to. If you look like you might be in your third trimester, you need to get your ass up off the couch, start walking until you can start jogging. You need to start doing some push-ups. You need to be at the gym because your health matters, especially if you have anybody in this world that matters to you. So you're not a failure, guys, unless you let a single failure define you. And some people do. Not the guys in our communities, because we have high-valued men. And I want to thank everyone who reached out, both before the race and after. It's not a video I wanted to make. I wanted to have a video where I challenge you all to get your ass off the couches because the middle-aged guy can knock it out. You can do it. But that still applies. Anybody who needs help with the accountability and exercise and getting the weight loss, send me a PM. I've got a group for that. We are working on some stuff. Going to teach, and we're gonna hold you accountable. We're going to give you a form to be accountable. So, guys, have a great week. While this wasn't the video I wanted to make, I had to follow up, even though I didn't like the way this video was going to go. And I will be back stronger, better, faster. I'm already working on my training plan and selecting the races for next year. And then I will retire from triathlon. Guys, have a great day. Love you all.